Hello, my friends. Welcome to my studio. The only time I see the inside of this studio is when you see the inside of this studio, which is an interesting thing to me, that I've gone from being a full-time musician to a full-time not musician. Maybe 2025 will be different, but I've failed in creating one more song before 2024 ends. I really don't think I'm going to get it out in the next week. That's okay. Anyway, hi. Only got 11 tracks today, and I think that's okay because I drove my Subaru to the studio and it has summer tires on, and we're supposed to get some snow at some point tonight, so I probably should try to not be out too late. Let me go ahead and post this real quick. That's all. Farewell. Lock post. Okay, cool. Let us have a listen to what you guys have been doing this week. Should be a pretty quick one today, I think. Yeah, first up, we got Felix Archive, Hoping to Keep My Eyes Open. That's always a good thing to hope for. My studio is about 25 minutes away from my house, which is 30 kilometers, which is 20 miles, give or take, 18 miles, something like that. Okay, let's keep going. I do find that I liked when the vocals came in. They sound cool. That like super saw thing is a bit cheesy. I think it's a little too on the cheesy side. I think like the sound of it along with the notes that are being played are both adding to the cheese factor a little too heavily. Yeah, so I think the strengths here are the drums are cool, the vocals are cool. I think the vocals are very, very quiet. Thank you for doing all this math, Cloudy Parallels. I appreciate your calculator duties. But yeah, the vocals are very buried in the mix, and I think that they are maybe the coolest part of the track. So that's a problem, in my opinion. Yeah, this part is sick. This part's way cooler than the previous minute of this track. I wouldn't be upset if the track just like started here. Like it's way cooler. I feel like my visual microphone needs to. How's that? Wait for the exposure to adjust. Come on, exposure. There we go. Yeah, I think that this part is sick. The part leading up to it was like, meh. I don't know. What's up, Courtney? I think you should base the song around this part. This part's sick, the other part not. Yeah, to me, there's two different songs in here. There's a really cool kind of like hyper pop-ish trap track, and then there's kind of like the cheesy super saw thing. And I don't know, in my opinion, I would just go with the trap thing and maybe leave the super saw part behind. Yeah, because the trap thing is dope. Like it's very unique sounding. It's cool. It's interesting. And then the super saw parts are just kind of like, oh, that's a super saw. Cool. Anyway, I hope that helps. I don't know if it does, but that's what I have to say. Let's move on. Ice Kayak Fallen Angel first draft. I forgot to master it, and I'm too lazy to re-render 2012-24. That's a lot of parentheses. I think the contrast between the two styles, you can have contrast for sure. You don't have to just have the whole track be that trap thing, but I just don't think that that's the move. I think that you could have something else that's a little like a super saw as a main element. I don't know. Just to me, it's just too basic, I guess. And not even from like I'm a producer and I want interesting sound design because I'm a producer. But I don't know. I just think, I think the parts that were the trap parts were sick and the parts that weren't the trap parts were not that sick. And for sure you could have contrast, but I think the contrasty part should also be sick. Okay, let's move on. Here we go. Okay, this is very like African documentary so far in a good way, but I'm noticing a trend here, and I'm wondering what the trend is. The last thing you sent in, like the last stream, also had this like MP3 layer. If you look at the frequency cut, like this frequency analysis over here, the wave candy, you can see it cuts off right above 15 kilohertz, which is very typical for an MP3 file. But then you've added something on top of it. And I remember from 2 weeks ago, I remember that you sent something in and it had what appeared to be an MP3 file with stuff added to it. I think Discord be messing with the file. There's a 0% chance of that. That is not what it is. You don't need to tell me what it is. If you know what it is, that's great. I'm just saying that it is something. I'm not sure what it is, but it is something. It seems like the wave cavity doesn't lie. You've got something in here. You've got two files. One is an MP3. The other, well, let's see. It could be an MP3 as well. It's let's see what you sent in. It's an MP3, but one is like a low quality MP3 and the other is not as low quality MP3. There's just no way around it. I mean, like that's an MP3 file. Why am I'm hitting spacebar, nothing's happening. You don't have to show me the project file. You don't have to prove anything to me. I'm just pointing it out that there's something going on and you should look into it. That's it. Sorry, Zephyrinth. I'm trying to make it a short one because I have my car with summer tires on it, and it's supposed to start snowing tonight. So, this I don't know. It was cool when it was like garage style. That seems more conducive to this track. Like, it seems more. Holy fuck, you're right. Okay, this part's cool, but this part. To me, the drums make it feel like it's supposed to be bigger than it is. So, I don't know. This build-up spot, I just thought was like the drop because it's kind of halfway. It's not obvious that it's a build. It sounds almost like we're already there. We've already arrived at the thing, and the thing isn't that good, right? And then when it gets to the actual thing, it's good, but it threw me off because I thought we were already at the thing. Yeah, I thought it was doing the thing, and the thing just wasn't that great. So I would probably try to make the build up more buildy uppy, you know? Okay, let's keep going. I did find that like halfway through this drop, it just kind of felt like it didn't feel like it picked itself up at all halfway through. It just kind of felt like copy paste. So maybe like some more hi-hats or something to like, okay, now we're cooking, you know? To me, it started cooking. You preheated the oven and the oven got to 400 and then it just stayed at 400 and maybe 425 or 450 at the second half would be better. You know, really sear the edges a little. I also found some of those like I can appreciate the sound design cut-ins, like the little fills and stuff that happen, but they kind of scared me a little, and not necessarily in a good way. They just kind of like, whoa, holy fuck, that was aggressive. Anyway, let's keep going. Yeah, I'm with Maple Leaf. Like this part especially is cool. But like, I don't see how it relates to anything that came before it. It's even in a different key. And there's a lot of I feel like this is, I'm not saying this is what it is, but this feels like an attempt to get feedback on 3 different songs. I don't understand it. I'm gonna just, and maybe my pleb brain can't comprehend it, but to me, it just, there's no connecting the dots between, like, there's some cool ideas in both things, but as a standalone piece of music, I don't get it. I'm not following the idea. That's, I think it would probably be better off as 2 separate songs, and then each song can make sense, and they don't need to make sense together. They're 2 different songs. If you're trying to have some sort of conceptual, concept piece where it goes and, okay, this is the struggle part, and now this is this part of the story, and now we're going to the next part. That's cool, but I don't really think it accomplishes that. It just feels like one idea after the next. And there's a clip I actually just saw today. It was like the creators of the South Park show, and they were talking about how to write a good story, and you should never have and then. So it's like this happens and then this happens. Like, that is not a good story. It should always be this happens, therefore this happens, or this happens, but then this happens, not just and then. And to me, it feels like and then. It just is like, here's this idea, and then here's this idea. There has to be some sort of connective pieces. And personally, I'm not hearing it. So yeah. There's lots of cool sound design stuff happening. I think that the South Park thing applies in this scenario. It's okay to have different things, but they have to have some sort of causality connection. They have to have, like, this happened, so this happened, or despite the fact that happened, this is now happening, but there's that causality. Could I make my mic louder? Yes. Thank you for the suggestion. I can do that right here. How is this? Is this better? I added 6 dB. Anyway, that's what I think. I think there's definitely some cool ideas in here. I just think that it's a bit scatterbrained. I'm also aiming it not directly at my face. Amateur hour over here. Okay. Thank you for sending. Whoa. This one is a short one. Here we go. This is one of the chord songs of all time. It's cool. I think that this section kind of drug on a little bit. There wasn't enough variety. There wasn't enough development. But I liked where it went after that. I think that your next goal should be to learn how to use a limiter in your master bus, because you can literally just take a limiter and then all of a sudden the track is louder and better with zero ill consequences. So that's your next homework, is to find a limiter that is within your budget. You can get free limiters that would still work fine, and learn how to use it so that you can get just the energy of the track up. You know, I'm not advocating for like slamming this. I don't think this is the style of music that requires like insane levels of loudness. But I do think that an extra 8 dB of loudness overall is not going to do this any harm. It's only going to make the track sound more modern and finished. That's what I think. Thanks for sending. Let's check out Reist. Malakaliki Maka.
Vai tomar, os menor que rajada. Vai tomar, rajada. Vai tomar, os menor que rajada. Taca tutadão então,
Yeah, this is dope. I think one thing that, first of all, some mastering is going to do this wonders, because if you just compare like this. Oh, of course, I clicked the one spot. Hold on. Let's compare this. And I just did a very quick, like, multi-band and limiter kind of thing to it, right? So getting it, especially this style of music, I think should really slap you in the face. The one thing that's not really mix or master or production related is that I don't feel like that, I don't feel like the, I guess, Brazilian funk, whatever this style is, it's almost like Moomba, some subgenre of Moomba, I don't know, whatever that is. I didn't feel like I don't feel like we ever got a drop of that style. I feel like we just had build, and then finally we got a drop, but it was like a totally different style. And I really wanted the full drop. And I think what was leading me to feel like we weren't quite at the drop is there was just continually, like, there was so much happening all the time with the vocals and the drums and the switch ups and stuff. I didn't feel like we built up and we got somewhere, right? So I feel like if you could develop, like, it almost feels like it just keeps changing, and I'm not sure what is like the main part, if that makes sense. It's just always, it's always developing, and I think that's what's leading me to believe that we never arrived at the drop. We only are teasing that style.
rajada. Vai tomar, vai tomar, vai tomar.
So yeah, I'd like to build it up, and then instead of like doing so many switch ups and stuff, like figure out a groove and really like drive it into us, you know, figure out where you're going and get there. Cause to me, it just doesn't feel like you've developed that idea. It's dope. Like it sounds like it's going in a very cool direction, but I don't feel like you've fully developed the doom ka ka. It just kind of feels like it's always starty and stoppy and doing flips and shit, you know, like just do the thing for a bit and then do all your flips and shit and use it a little more sparingly, like sprinkle those little fills and the you know, like your turnarounds and all the switch ups and stuff, sprinkle them in a little, maybe a little more sparingly. It's like having a cake, but having like 17 why do I always relate shit to food? I'm not even that much of a food person myself. Anyway, it's like having a cake and having like so much frosting piled on it that it's hard to enjoy the cake because you're like, it's just all frosting. So I feel like there's too much frosting and not enough cake, and like sparklers and shit too. But it's very cool, and everything you have here is dope. I just feel like arrangement wise, you should build us up to something and then give us that thing. It feels a bit too like teasy to me, you know. I also feel like this, that like the distorted synth that comes in kind of comes in out of nowhere. I don't think that I think the part is cool, and I think this section is cool, especially when it goes to that with like that joyride-ish kind of vocal thing in the background. I think that these parts are dope. I just don't think that they were necessarily introduced that well, because they just like, it was almost like too much of a change without any sort of introduction of the individual sounds or elements or whatever. It just kind of hit me out of nowhere. So it took me a second to adjust to it. And I don't like, when you get to a drop section, you want the start of that drop section, you want everybody to be on board, right? You don't want them to have to take a few seconds and be like, oh, okay, now this thing's, okay, here we go. You know, you want them to be doing that as it's leading up to the drop. And then when the drop happens, everybody should be on the same page and rocking out. So those are my thoughts. I think it's a super cool track though. It's got a lot of attitude, and you're on your way. Let's move on. Thank you for sending. We're going to listen to Contact Crescent Moon Mix. Let me make sure that I turn this all off, because I'm very bad for that. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction that effect, that this is going to be used too much, and that's going to be my feedback. Okay, so this is very nice sounding. It's very cool. It's very retro, like Space Invaders style game, or not Space Invaders, the one where you go sideways. What's that one called? I don't know, like Darius Twins or something. It's very that, and that's cool, and I like that. The one thing besides the overuse of the very recognizable effects sound, which I think you should, yeah, maybe Gradius or Galaga. No, Galaga's still like up and down, isn't it? I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, I know that Darius Twins or something for Super Nintendo, that's like sideways. Anyway, whatever. This isn't retro video game analysis. So yeah, I would probably, if you have a very recognizable effects sound, that you should use it very sparingly because it will stick out like a sore thumb when you use it over and over. And I think you either had two very similar sounding effects, or one of them you started halfway through the effect and the other one you started at the start. Whatever. That's an easy fix. Just be a little more conscious of like super characterized, like identifiable effect sounds. Don't use those too often. The other thing is, everything that I've heard so far feels like a non-drop section. I don't feel like we got to the drop. You know, everything felt like it was leading somewhere. And not every song needs to be like crazy dubstep drop. I kind of don't like the word drop, because I don't think that really describes what this needs. I don't think it needs like a crazy like wow 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 wow, like a big dubstep drop or anything like that. Yeah, it's a chorus. It's kind of like the plateau, you know? I kind of feel like we were always moving somewhere and we couldn't find like our spot that we were trying to get to for a while. It like a little, I don't want to say like a spot to take a break, because it's usually the most energetic part of the song, but it feels like a spot you can hang out in, and we're not going somewhere. We are there. We're at the spot. And that's kind of what I feel like this is missing. I know that feedback is kind of vague and probably a little hard to implement. But I think, let me listen to it again. I feel like this was maybe intended to be the spot, you know, the hangout spot. It's almost like bar hopping, you know, like I feel like all these parts that we're listening to, that's like a bunch of friends going from bar to bar, but like they never stop to do the bar. Anyway, I don't know why I'm analogizing this to death. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. One thing that you could do is try, a lot of the time if you listen to this style of music, and maybe not this specific style, but like electronic music, you'll get a bunch of lush, atmospheric, vibes, and then the part gets simplified and it's more focused directly in on a couple elements that are the main elements. I think that's maybe more of what I'm missing, and that's why it maybe like the word drop doesn't really apply, but it just feels like everything is so lush and atmospheric that I never quite know where to focus my attention on, because it's all very ethereal and floating around. If you just took a couple of these sections and just like stripped out a bunch of elements and just see what it sounds like with just the drums and the bass and maybe like the plucky thing or something like that, just experiment and see if maybe it feels a little more focused. Maybe focus is the word that I'm looking for. And of course, I saw that you might not agree, and that's fine. I mean, like this is just my opinion, obviously, but I think it's worth a try to go through and just have it a bit more focused, you know, to present something as the main element. Because when I listen to this whole thing, I'm not quite sure what the main element is. Everything is just kind of tickling me a little, you know. It's just all kind of, it's very nice sounding and it's pleasant to listen to, but I'm not quite sure what the main character is of this story. And that's usually when your chorus or your drop, that's when you introduce that and really drive it into us, this weird sound with the bass, that's the main part of the song, you know? So I don't know, it might be worth just going through and stripping stuff out and be like, okay, this is going to be the main section. Let me pull out everything except like 3 elements and the drums and see what it sounds like, or pull everything out except the bass and 1 other element. And then, because you need the bass. I mean, the bass has got to be there. So let's ignore the bass and the drums. The bass and drums have to be there, but maybe let's strip the drums back quite a bit, have just the bass and 1 other element. Can I make that work? Can that 1 element be the main element in this section? And then do that for a section of time, you know, 8 bars, 16 bars, whatever. And then start bringing back in your atmosphere and your dingly dangles and all the stuff that's going on. You know, that, I don't know, that's what I would try. I'd at least try it. It sounds great. It's very pleasing to listen to. For me, I didn't quite feel it. Like this section to me felt like it was supposed to be like the crescendo or like the climax of the track. But I could almost hear it with, first of all, without the effects. I would probably try dropping it. Like, don't do this almost like a fake out. You know, you do like this fake out thing, maybe try it without it. I'm not saying it won't work. I'm just try it without it. And like, you've got the da-da-da-da-da-da, like the trancy kind of gated da-da-da-da-da-da. That to me, I don't think that should come in right off the top of something. That feels like an element that picks up the pace and gets it moving again. And kind of, you know, counterintuitively, I feel like it's moving too much. Like, I feel like it almost should take a second and stop and do a thing. And then you can bring in da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and maybe even the plucky things. I know that really only leaves you with like the Reese and the kick or something like that. But yeah, and try 4 to the floor. Maybe I don't know, just fuck around. If you love it the way it is and you're just looking for mix advice, then it sounds pretty good mix and master wise. You know, like it's a bit anemic when it comes to like the bass. Because I feel like it's in the wrong octave. I feel like your bass is up an octave from where it should be. So yeah. Like, I mean, immediately I can just tell you to put your bass synth down an octave and the song is going to be 27% better. All I have to do is play that low note and the song sounds way better. So, and I don't think that's really, like, the other advice that I was giving you obviously is very subjective and it's my opinion. It's kind of the bass is kind of objectively up an octave. I don't think that's really an arguing point. So A sharp, A sharp is challenging. So if I just play those an octave down, it sounds way better. Do that. Okay, cool. And careful with the effects that are super obvious. And I think that's it. Right on. All right, let's check out Cat Attack Lost. dope. I don't really like the microphone staticky thing. The white noise is okay. I think what you're trying to accomplish with the stuff is kind of accomplished by everything else, all the other lo-fi-ness of the track. I feel that the glitchy shit that happens every once in a while, it doesn't add anything. It's just jarring, and the rest of the track is so nice to listen to. So I don't really like it. I like everything except that, and when that happens, I don't dig it. So I'm hoping that was something you added in. That was my audio interface acting. Okay, that's why I said I'm hoping that's something you added in. Good luck. Re-record it maybe. I don't know, but like fuck, that sucks. I'm gonna try removing it. Yeah, I'm sure you can figure it out. You can do some surgery, you can cut and paste, you could do something. I'm sure you can get rid of it, and I'm sure you could replay it again. But to me, I thought you put it in because it's kind of like a cat attack thing to do, is to throw in some random fucking glitchy sounds. And a lot of the time it's effective and it's cool. But this, it's just jarring and distracting from the it kind of feels like maybe like I'm in France, you know, trying to find myself walking down the street drinking a coffee or something. I don't know. But then like aliens hit me with a laser every once in a while, and I don't like it. It's very nice though. Musically, it's dope. Cool. All right, that was easy. A1 and Cloudy Parallels and Donatella. Oops. Donatella? Is that like a Teenage Ninja Turtles reference, kinda? Anyway, way back on. Let's have a listen.
Come to me when you can't catch your breath, hiding the hurt that's in your head. But I believe there's more inside your chest than you can see. Baby, please just let me in. The road is winding, the lights are blinding. Let it go, find your way back home. No need to hide it, your heart is trying to let you know your way back home.
Okay, before we get into that one.
Your heart is trying to let you know your way back.
So the vocals sound really good. There's a couple pokey bits right here. And you can see it watching the Wave Candy where she's singing and it's not like pokey in like a nasally way. You'll notice see, like there and there, you might have to go in and either maybe automate, not necessarily the volume, but you could try just automating the volume. It's just those two lines are like, they kind of, whoa, you know, they're kind of a bit too hot. Let you know, the word know specifically. And your, but lesser so. It's mostly the word no. Just try to tame those two words down a little. It sounded like she got a little nasally when she said those two words. And sometimes as a mixing engineer or a producer, you have to accept that humans are human and that sort of thing happens. And it's not like it's like a glaring problem, but if you're listening to it loud, like I am, then when those moments happen, it's like quite like, oof, like on the ears, right? So anyway, let's keep going. I would probably try a little bit of multi-band compression on her vocal and just try to isolate, like if you listen, if we go back.
Don't need to hide it, to let you
Okay. Let me just, I'm going to loop this section for a second. It's going to be annoying. Yeah, it's right around here. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 hertz. So you could like, you could kind of try to isolate that with. You can see those 3 peaks, and then if you look over here, you can see the 3 peaks, and that's cool. But anyway, let's now take this. And then let's see what that sounds like. And you could have a multi-band compressor that's a little invasive, and you could just automate it on for the words. As long as you can't tell in the mix that you've done this stuff, then it doesn't really matter. You could just automate it on when you need it and then automate it off when you don't.
Don't need to hide it. Your heart is trying to let you know.
It's still a bit pokey, but I'm kind of limited because I have the whole mix to work with, not just the vocals. Anyway, whatever. I think the amount of time I've spent talking about this is greater than the importance of it, but it's worth maybe trying to tame down. When she says no, it's like, it's a bit too snappy. Let's move on.
But it won't find your way back home.
Okay, so I think, hold on. Let me see. I think you're using this. Now, I might be wrong. You hear it in the background. I'm not saying it's a problem, but I do think you shouldn't drop with it. I think that those loose hi-hats, I just think it's funny that I don't know. I'm like 50% confident that that's the hi-hat loop that's in there, but that's neither here nor there. I think that dropping with those loose hi-hats, I think dilutes the impact of the drop. I would probably drop like without, because it kind of like, there's like the moments, the downbeats where you really hear them come through. 75% true, some hi-hat loop 100%. It doesn't say Escape from Tarkov anymore, Will. Leave me alone. There's like moments where it's like, you know, like there's cool synth things happening, but it's kind of being blurred by like that open hi-hat. So I'd hold off on probably a lot of the top drums until maybe halfway through, and then you can start opening it up and developing it and letting it blossom. Yeah, I think you've got some really cool sound design stuff happening, and you should only add top drums as needed. You know, I would, if it was my drop, I'd probably have like kick, snare, synths. And I'd probably at least drop like that, and then maybe add in some stuff as I go. But that way we can we really get a super clear idea of like the sound design that's happening, and it'll probably be more impactful that way. It's funny how a lot of the times you try to add like a lot of elements to make things more impactful, but it makes it less impactful and less powerful. So a lot of the time, the least amount of things you add is going to have the most impact.
I know you were just doing what's best, but the truth is your weary soul needs rest. I do too, 'cause I'm still right where you left, and I would choose to wait for you. Find your way back home. No need to hide it. Your heart is just.
So I think what it is, okay, well, stop fucking vibrating my phone. I'm putting it on silent, so you can keep sending me all you want. Anyway. So with her vocals, when she does her falsetto voice, it sounds great. It's when she goes to her whole voice that I think that she just needs a slight adjustment in that 3,000, 4,000 hertz range. When she's being all airy, it's all nice and smooth. But when she goes to her like full voice or her chest voice, that's when those like nasally frequencies really poke it. Okay, we're back to the Cloudy Parallels wall of sound. The binary side chaining isn't doing it for me. It just makes it sound like it's off time. You know what I mean? Like it seems to me like the side chain is doing this. Wow, I couldn't have zoomed in a little more. Jesus. Let's try that again. This is what the side chain looks like it's doing. It's either on or off. And that, because it's such a sharp edge, that feels like a rhythmic element, right? So now we have a transient of the kick, and then we have a second rhythmic event, you could call it. But that event doesn't line up with any sort of, like if you look at you look right here. Oh, wait, I'm not lined up. What's the BPM? I guess it doesn't really matter, but my point is the side chaining makes it feel off time. I am just kind of curious, though, was it 140? Oopsies. 150. Okay, 150. Try 150. Yeah, it's 150. So, like... Now let's do the snip tool. I use the snip tool a lot. So if we go like this, and we look at, okay, here's the kick drum lined up with this, and then this, your synth kind of comes in here, which is like not lined up with this, which is the next eighth note, or lined up with this. It's kind of just arbitrarily over there somewhere. And the reason why it feels like a rhythmic element is because it doesn't fade in like a typical side chain. It doesn't fade in. It just kind of comes in like as like a as a note almost. So I don't know exactly what advice to give you. I still think that well, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing that's what you like. That's your thing, and that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that the side chain is a bit wonky. And in a lot of ways, the fact that I say Cloudy Parallels wall of sound is a good thing. It's not like I'm saying the Cloudy Parallels body odor, like it's like something that's associated with you and your style. So that's nothing but a good thing. It's just that it's a bit aggressive. And I still do think that the wall of sound it's a bit loud. But it wouldn't be as intrusive if the side chain was a little less distracting rhythmically. But I would say if you listen to this mix in this section, it's like 75% wall of sound and then 25% the rest of the track. So I'd probably turn the wall of sound down and adjust the side chain. Anyway, that's what I think. It sounds good though, dude. It's well done. What's with this? Why do I now have two colors? I don't know. You've been here for 2 years. Holy shit. Time flies when you're listening to tracks. Happy 2 years. All right. Zetmo. I don't know how to say that, but it looks like it might be acid. That was painful. The drawing, the music was great. Okay, so this is sick. My one thought is that if you think about this as if it were being played by a rock band, the drummer was on the crash cymbal and open hi-hat the whole time. I would like there to be a section where it's more closed hi-hat, and that way when he goes to the crash and the sloshy hat, that has more impact. I feel like we were at 11 out of 10 the whole time. And I think that if we were at 8 out of 10 for some of the sections, then that 11 out of 10 would be like, feel like a 12 out of 10. You know what I mean? And why do people even bother using out of 10 when they're going to go above 10? Like that kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? Why don't we just agree that 10 out of 10 is unobtainable? And then we can say like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 is actually very extreme. Instead, we just move the target, and now we have to say like 27 out of 10. That doesn't even make sense. But this one goes to 11. Anyway, that's what I think. I think like I'm okay dropping heavy as fuck like that, but maybe here. I don't know, tighten it up or something. I think it just needs to be tightened up during a couple of the sections so that when you go back to absolute insane, and actually, Kadia, now that you say that, I realize that I was just making the exact same argument that he was making in This Is Spinal Tap, where he's like, why don't you just make 10 louder? I didn't even mean to make that, but I basically said the exact same thing in different words. Anyway, that's what I think. I think this is sick. It's, I think Jello would love it, and I love it. And I think just having a couple sections where it's more tight and I think another reason why I want it to be tighter and closed off a bit more is so that I can really listen to the acid bass line better, because the acid bass line sounds dope, but there's 500 other elements on top of it rocking out with it. So I never have just a clear vision of like what the acid sounds like, right? So I would go through and try to carve out a section here or there where it's more just like it's so clear, the sound of the acid bass, that you can really understand what it sounds like, and then add all the elements on top of it and get us rocking out. But it's truly good. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for sending. All right. Track from a while ago. Simplified bass and made other tweaks. Here we go. Okay, so first of all, do better rendering. Render better. That should be a t-shirt, render better. And it has like a really shitty quality, like zoomed in paint picture of this, and it says render better. Anyway, besides that, that's easy to fix. Yeah, okay, so this is definitely a specific style. And like Kadia said, yes, the drums feel very far away. Everything kind of feels far away. It's kind of tough because like they're so distorted, but that's obviously the style and that's the intention. But in distorting them and layering them with a bunch of kind of like blurry sounds, because you've distorted the drums so much, it's gotten rid of all of like the transients in the drums, right? So we don't have like the punch of each kick or snare. We lost that because it's so squanched down. So it's flattened. So I think I'm not sure how to fix that without changing like the fundamental sound of the track, but maybe that's not maybe it should be changed fundamentally. If you can somehow get like some transients back into the drums, then they're going to cut through and give, cause you can even, if you look at the track, I mean, like normally when there's drums, you can see like the pattern and you can see like the tempo. I could line it up and say, okay, there's a kick drum, it's 4 to the floor. So that's how I usually determine what people's tempos are when they don't tell me. If I just want to listen to a track and figure out what the tempo is, I look at the drums and there's a peak of a drum or transient of a drum. There's another transient and I change the tempo until they line up with my grid, and that's how I know that I'm at the right tempo. But with your track, because they've been squanched so hard, you can't see any transients. And that may be what caused Kaidia to say the drums feel so far away, because it's very hard to be up in your face when everything is just like chopped off. So depending on how you could do like parallel processing where you send the drums to the distortion to get distorted all the fuck or whatever that you want for your style, but then send a little of the dry drums through too, so that those like transient peaks can cut through. It may require some experimentation on your part to maybe develop a new signal path, framework, I guess, like something that you do that accomplishes this sound, but still maintains some of the punch of the drums. And that's assuming that you want the drums to have punch. Most people do. It's kind of a given. But if this is exactly how you want it to sound and you've done all of this on purpose, then you can disregard everything I'm saying. Otherwise, I would try to get some transients into the drums. Probably what I would do is I would try leaving your drums as is, but then add in kick and snare samples on top of it. And it might be challenging to do that without it sounding, like fucked for the lack of a better term. But you could try it. And it's kind of another way of doing parallel processing, right? You're sending your drums to the distortion, and then you're sending different drums not to the distortion. So parallel processing or parallel compression or whatever. It's just you send the same signal to two different things, and then they get added back together. I don't know. You could try that. But when you think about each of the elements in this track, none of them have very well-defined edges. You've got kind of pads, you've got bass that's sustained, you've got this like fluty kind of synthy thing that's happening. The drums don't have any transients. Nothing here has any transients, and that's causing the whole track to just kind of feel a bit bland and I guess flat is the best word I could use to describe it, right? So like, let's just take this real quick. What's the tempo? Uh, 90. Let's try it. Yeah, I think 90. Okay. And then let's just, I don't know, grab some random drums and put them on there and see what happens. I'm going to put better drums in. I'm just doing this for a placeholder. Okay, cool. So then let's get a snare. What's a good snare? I haven't done this in a long time. Sure, very generic snare, whatever. We'll use it as a placeholder for now. Wow, that's a long reverb tail that I put on that. Anyway, that's not the best example, but like that's what I would probably try to do, and then also mix in your drums to taste almost. So getting the right balance. I don't know what the right drums would be to use for that, but that's what I think. Thank you for sending. That's what I got for you. I can't quite remember exactly how it sounded last time you sent it. It says simplified bass. I feel like your bass line was kind of going all over the place, and I didn't feel like it was going all over the place that time. So I think you've made some good progress in that sense. All right, let's check out 7 and Nat Felix. Okay. Warning loud. Thank you. I couldn't tell. Wow. I also realized I skipped 10 to 2. So sorry. But yeah. Okay. So this is a cool start. I don't really know what else to say besides it's a cool start. I think bitch better hop on. I think the vocal or the vocals, I guess we'll call them vocals. The vocals should be more clear. I don't know what the song is about, but if that was more clear, then maybe I would have a bit more betterer concept. We did so much sound design and zero writing. Where are you from, Net Felix? Because I know that 7 is from here. That's pretty cool. I'm assuming you met him through my server, which is, it's all about me, baby. Just joking. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool start. I don't know what else to say. Keep going and make it a song. You've done lots of cool sound design. It's all very heavy and loud and aggressive, but now you need to I feel like when I do this sort of stuff and I spend a whole bunch of time on like sound design and coming up with cool sounds and shit, I'm creating like a palette to work with. But now you have to work with the palette. So you've created all these cool, interesting colors on your paint palette, the thing like Bob Ross holds on his, with the thing, the brush and whatnot. And now you have to actually, like, this is you showing me all the colors you made. You're like, here are the colors I made. I'm like, those are cool colors. What are you going to paint with it? I think that's where you're at. Now you have to go and write a song or paint a picture with all the colors that you've created. But you did a great job. I mean, the aquamarine was fucking dope, and cobalt white. I can't believe you pulled that out. That's not very common. I don't even know if that's a color. Cobalt white? Titanium white. Cobalt blue. Right. I'm not a painter. Anyway, good job making colors. Now paint a picture. All right, let's listen to the last one of the day, and then I got to go home. Hopefully it's not snowing. I don't think it is yet, so we should be all right, because I do have a Subaru, but it has winter tires, or it has summer tires, and all-wheel drive doesn't help you stop any better. So, okay, let's have a listen. This sounds like you have just completed a game. This sounds like the ending of a game where they're like, congratulations, you saved the princess. Okay, arrangement-wise, I think that this section here is twice as long as it should be. Because really, if you look at this and you look at this, this is basically just this with the Nexus kind of arpeggiator thing that's happening. So really what you could do is, this is a common thing. Let's see. It's the tempo. That's okay. Let's try 128. No, 129. 127. 127. Nope. 120. Oh. 130. Okay, 130. So one thing that I do sometimes is when I find myself in this position, I'll just do this. I'll cut. So, okay, we got this. Let's move them on to different lines. Oh, there. So we got this section and we got this section. And I found that this section and this section were too similar to justify their length. So what I'll do is I'll cut the tail end of this one off and the start of this one off. And I know I've done this on stream before, but and then I'll just combine them like that. So I take the first half of the first part and the second half of the second part and put them together. And let's see what it sounds. And that's a better use of the time, I think, because when you add that arpeggiator, it's not like a major development in the track. It's just like a slight addition. So it doesn't really justify waiting twice as long and then listening to it for twice as long, but it could come in halfway through this section as a little pick-me-up to get me to the next spot. And you can use that trick a lot. Like, we could even try this. I mean, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but it certainly works, and we got to the drop a lot quicker. So just to make it a little more obvious to see what I've done here, this is that's where I cut it. You mean the first part of this section here? Yeah, I'm not saying you should, if this is what you're talking about. I'm not saying you should cut it there. I was just making a point that you can do that, like you can do it with a lot of sections, where if we're talking, 4-bar sections like this, you have 8-bar sections. You can usually, depending on the length of the chord progression, you can usually cut the end off the first and the first off the end, and then slam them together and move the track along quicker. Anyway, besides that. I think your side chaining for these sections isn't quite. The first cut actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. I think your side chaining seems very shallow and very short. And I don't think you should go cloudy parallels binary side chaining. And I don't think you should go Benny Benassi side chaining. But I do think that this section would gain some power if you made the side chaining deeper and longer. Just a bit more pump, going on, especially with that big white noise downlifter thing. Excuse me. It's kind of like you've got like the kick that's trying to be like a pounding kick, but you have this like dainty little psss sound that is surviving the kick. The kick is doing nothing to that little sound. So kind of like subconsciously it leads you to believe that the kick isn't that powerful. Because part of like there's numerous reasons for side chaining. One is just so you can like make room in the mix for the kick and then have everything else be super loud. Another is that we expect that pump kind of feeling from this 4-to-the-floor style track. But also it kind of subconsciously, I think, it subconsciously makes the kick drum seem more powerful because the kick drum is like literally pushing everything out of its way. But when you have like a little, you have that little thing and it's not getting side chained. I don't know. And that's not to say you always have to side chain the effects, but in this situation, I would side chain the effects. I'd also side chain everything a little bit. I don't know how you do your side chaining, but I would probably have it a bit more like pumping, a bit more aggressive. Okay, cool. That's it. And I made it through without having to pee, and that's great for me. Okay, I love you. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Keep rocking in the free world. And that's, I guess, how I'm finishing this stream. Goodbye. Oh, right. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that stuff. Thank you, Katia. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. And I hope you have a great holiday.